Guys, welcome into another edition of Make Every Second Count Live with me, your host and international award-winning motivational speaker, Jeff Marconette Jr. And tonight I am very extremely excited because I have Wendell Graham. And Wendell Graham is going to give you 7 steps to creating your best life and making every second count, because you only get one chance at life.
One.
You never know when those seconds are going to run out, so you got to make them all count. So we will give about a minute here, let some people get on, and then I will let you go through your introduction. So
All right. Very good. Very good.
all right, so I'm going to be making sure this is already shared in like 23 groups.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm going to invite some people as well. I won't invite you though.
Okay.
Yeah. So how are you doing during this strange and awkward time?
I know I'm actually doing very well. I'm doing better than I thought I was, because when you look around, how everybody else is doing in other cities and states, they're not faring very well. But I'm counting my blessings, man. I'm counting my blessings. Some of them I'm counting twice.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
How about you? How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I am getting so much accomplished, and actually I'm getting ready to release my journal, and then I am working on my own book right now. So hi
That's
Mr. Wright, it's good to see you. So if you would like to go through your introduction window, you can go right ahead.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for thinking enough of Wendell Graham all the way from the beautiful city of Mobile, Alabama, to be on your show. Man, I am honored and I'm privileged to be here. I've been watching you over the years, and I've seen you, the growth and development, and I'm so proud of you, man. So awesome job. Excuse me. Well, for those of you who don't know, my name is Wendell Graham, and I hail from the great city of Mobile, Alabama. And if you didn't know, Mobile is right there on the Gulf Coast. It's the original home of Mardi Gras. I love saying this part: laissez-les, bon temps roule, let the good times roll. I currently reside in Huntsville, Alabama, excuse me, which is approximately 5 hours away from Mobile. And we have several small businesses that we operate simultaneously. We have a transportation service, barbershop, beauty salon, and we also have a consulting firm, which is Slight Edge Consulting. And my pledge is to help you gain the slight edge. We do business development, life sales training. We do a lot of different things, organizational structure. So we are just excited to be here, excited to be on the show here with Jeff Marconette. And we are looking forward to a fabulous show. So I'm just pumped and ready to go, man.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have you on here again because you're an awesome guy.
Thank you, man. Thank
All
you.
right, so if you would like to start going through your steps, I'll allow that.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. One of the things that I realized during this strange and awkward time, as you described it, is that a lot of us are suffering, or we're struggling with trying to find out what's next. How do we not only navigate this? You've heard the saying that you're going into a storm or you're either coming out of a storm, but either way, we're in a battle. And one of the things that I love about a good battle is that sometimes you can equip yourself for the battle. If you've seen any boxer, any MMA fighter, any athlete, they're always equipping themselves for the challenge at hand. So what I've done is I've come up with a couple of neat little antidotes, if you will, elixirs that we can use and This, you don't have to wait 30 days to use it. So what I'm going to do is dive right into I have seven steps to help you live an amazing life. And step number one is avoid the spider web. Avoid the spider web. Now, a lot of people, they say, well, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Well, I was on my front porch one afternoon, and I noticed that a spider builds its web in an inconspicuous area, like in a corner. And I noticed that a bug got caught in the spider web. What the spider did not do was the spider didn't immediately go to the insect. The spider waited until the insect started wrestling against itself, entangling itself in the web. And it was only until the insect was exhausted that the spider went to the insect, injected a poisonous enzyme into the head of the insect, which broke it down on the inside. Now, that was amazing to me because I did a little research on that. Avoiding the spider web is that sometimes we get into situations. Sometimes we get into what I call sticky situations. And once we're in this sticky situation, we start wrestling against ourselves, tiring ourselves out. And it's at that point that we are most susceptible to being influenced, most susceptible to having that poisonous enzyme in our head. Webster defines influence as the confident ability to change another person's thoughts, beliefs, and or actions. And that's exactly what happens to us. We wrestle against ourselves, trying to figure out our own problems. And then someone comes along, a good book, my favorite book, the Bible says that seek not the counsel of the ungodly or the unwise. And we get bad advice. That bad advice breaks us down on the inside, causing us to make even worse decisions. So step number one out of the 7 is avoid at all costs the spider web. Avoid wrestling against yourself. And by all means, avoid bad advice. That's step number 1. Step number 2, recognize the real enemy. Enemy. Recognize who the real enemy. Why would you say real enemy? Because sometimes the biggest enemy is yourself. I'll say that again for emphasis. Sometimes the biggest enemy exactly is yourself, your thought process and how you're processing information. What you think is actually happening to you may very well be happening for you. I'll say that one again. What you think is happening to you may very well be happening for you. There's a lot of character building experiences that take place when we go through what we call a difficult time. So sometimes we have to recognize the real enemy. What is the negative self-chatter? The inner dialogue. Do you ever tell yourself, how could I have been so stupid? What was I thinking about? That was so dumb of me. You know, if we really thought about it, if we heard somebody talking to a friend of ours, like we talk to ourselves, we might go up and punch them in the nose. Now, I don't prescribe to violence, but what I'm saying is that sometimes we are so hard on ourselves, Jeff. So sometimes we're so brutal with ourselves. We don't give ourselves a break. We're the real biggest enemy. So what we should do, the first thing we wake up in the morning, we should listen to something that's motivational, something that's inspirational, because the brain is more inclined to it's more susceptible in the morning. You're going to carry that with you throughout the whole entire day. So recognize the real enemy. Are you the real enemy to yourself? Are you the real enemy to yourself? Ask yourself that question. That will be my point number 2. I tell you, the worst thing you could do is give a speaker a good microphone with some good sound quality on a good show. So let me go on to step number 3. Step number 3, take 20% responsibility for your own actions. Oh, wait a minute. I may have read that wrong, Jeff. I might have read that wrong. Take 30% responsibility for your own actions. Nope, I think that's wrong. How about 50? No, you're going to have to take 100% responsibility and accountability for your own actions. You know, for years, Jeff, I've been intentionally overweight. I've been intentionally overweight. A lot of people say, well, Wendell Graham, why do you say that you were intentionally overweight? It's because I've never accidentally eaten anything. It's always been intentional. I mean, if I ate that piece of cake, I went after it. If I ate those famous Amos chocolate chip cookies with the pecans in them, it's because I wanted to. Because I have to take 100% accountability for my own actions. If I don't take responsibility for my own actions, what I'll start doing is I'll start blaming you. I'll start blaming you for why I haven't succeeded, why I haven't gone any farther than I've gone. So we have to take 20% accountability. No, it's 100% or nothing. We should forget the whole thing. Take 100% accountability and responsibility for where you are. It is at that point something magical happens. You know what happens? You start realizing that the cavalry is not coming. Nobody is coming to save me. I have to take 100% accountability and responsibility for my action. Let me move on to number 4. Tip number 4. Become crystal clear. Become crystal clear. You know, I like drawing. I'm a somewhat of an artist. I'm not a Van Gogh or Picasso. I don't paint that well. I'm more of a Bob Ross, you know, but Bob Ross more like SpongeBob, you know. But what I like to do, become crystal clear. In drawing, when you draw, they say you can trace it or outline it. And the word is delineation, the outline of something. Sometimes when we are not crystal clear, we don't have an outline. We're not outlined properly. When you're not crystal clear, then people don't know whether you're coming or going. When you don't say, have you ever invited somebody to go out to eat dinner or to go to lunch or something, and every time you invite them to go, they say, well, it doesn't matter. And then you end up going to a restaurant that they don't like, and then they say, well, why did you go here? Well, because you weren't crystal clear. See, you can decide or I can decide, but a decision will be made. You can decide or I can decide, but a decision will be made. We must become crystal clear. Jeff, I say this to my children all the time. I have teenage children, and I tell them, if your friends ask you what you are doing, always have a list of things that you're doing. And the reason why I say that is because if you say you're not doing anything, they're going to suggest that you go with them. Well, if you're not doing anything, come and ride with me. And you don't know if they're going to rob a liquor store, going to the casino, or going to do something. So you always have to be crystal clear about what you are doing. Where are you going in life? What are you doing in life? Where do you want to be 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 days from today? How do you, Jeff, I referenced you and I said, I've watched you grow. I see that you're getting a lot of definition. I asked you if you're still in the gym. You said, yeah, I'm still at it. You have not stopped. 3 years ago when we met, you've been going to the gym every day. You're crystal clear on your, I see it. I see it. You're crystal clear on your goals. So become crystal clear. And I know we can touch on these as we go through. Let me go on to tip number 5. Tip number 5, prepare for the fight to come. Don't let up. Don't relax. Have you ever seen a boxer, which I love boxing, but have you ever seen a boxer in the ring? The boxer practices, they train for several weeks, if not months, for this fight to come. And sometimes if you're a heavyweight knockout artist like Mike Tyson, or middleweight like Roy Jones Jr., or if you're an MMA fighter like John Bone Jones, they train for several months for this fight. The fight may only last a couple of minutes, if not a couple of seconds. Mike Tyson will knock you out in a couple of seconds in his prime. But we have to prepare for the fight to come. We have to, when we're getting out of this fight, as we're in this awkward time of life, we should be preparing to get off the sofa, to come off of the quarantine food, and to get back out into the world, to start fighting for those things that we say that we want. Number 6, analyze what you are up against. Do you know what you're fighting? Do you know what you are up against? Do you really, really seriously know what you're up against? We should study our opponent. We know that the enemy sometimes is ourselves, but we should study the condition that we're in, and we should study the opponent. Analyze what you are up against. Some of us are not going back to a job. Some of us lost businesses, and we have to analyze what we're up against. What type of adjustments will you have to make in order to be successful in life? That's number 6. And develop a game plan. Develop a game plan. A plan, you know, I talk a lot about goals because I love a goal. A goal is not a goal until it's been clearly defined, written down. You place a deadline on it. You've outlined the obstacles that you must overcome, and you've asked yourself the most important question: what's in it for me? I know that's a lot, but a goal is not a goal until it's been clearly defined, written down. You've placed a deadline on it. You've identified the obstacles that you will encounter. You've also identified the people that you'll have to work with. And you ask yourself, what's in it for me. Guess what? That's a universal principle. If you use it in Huntsville, Alabama, Chicago, Illinois, Chitlin Switch, Mississippi, or Bug Tussle, Alabama, it's going to work. It's just like Bug Tussle, Alabama. That's right. It's just like the law of gravity. Gravity works wherever you are, Jeff Marconette. It works wherever I am. Take an apple from a top of a building and drop it. The same thing is going to happen there. That's the same thing when you practice and use the principles of goal setting. If you use them there, you're going to achieve the same results. So I went through all of my 7 steps. I want to make sure that I'm following the format of your show. So I'm going to turn the mic back over to you, take a sip of water, and then we can elaborate on talk about these things and break them down.
All right. So on this show, we like to help other people that are going through things and going through things in their life. And it's very important for me to help other people. And I know that it's important for you as well. So is there any way or any strategies that you have that can help people remember how to go through these 7 steps in order to make their life into a winning life?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that awesome, amazing question, because I'm going to say a short pencil is better than a long memory any day of the week. Sometimes we just have to get ourselves a pencil, a pen, a piece of paper. You know, when a message comes, we don't care how it comes. We don't care if it's tied to the foot of a pigeon. If it's the antidote that we need in order to advance in life, we're just happy and excited about that. So the advice that I would give anybody who's in a difficult situation, don't try to fight this thing by yourself. You know, we should associate with other people who can see the value in us. These principles, this formula that I just laid out here, the seven steps here, will help you move forward. But the only thing that it won't do is get you off the sofa. It won't get you off the couch. It won't put your running shoes on for you. It won't put a suit on you or put a tie on you. It won't make you search the web or stay up late at night researching. The only way that this is going to work, this is a theory, Jeff. This is theory. But then there's something that's called practical application. Theory versus practical application. Or let me say it this way. A physical action step is required in order to see the results. Now, the other night, I'm going to show you something. And I'm right here at the table. And I didn't play in this, but let me show you this. So my daughter, she bakes, right? She bakes. And she says, Dad, I'm making some cookies. So she made a batch of cookies the first time, and she took the butter and she put it in a microwave. Well, the recipe said that you have to sit it on the counter and at room temperature. Well, when she put it in a microwave and cooked it, the cookies didn't come out good at all. And I'm the cookie monster, so they weren't good. And so she did it again, and she made these monsters right here. Now, I don't know, Jeff, look at that. My hand, I got the hand the size of a catcher's mitt. That's about how big my hand is. But she made these cookies, and I am afraid to eat them. I can't even eat them, Jeff. But I tasted a little bit of them, but they're delicious. But guess what she did? She followed the recipe to the T. Oh, man, let me say that again. In order to get the right results, she had to follow the recipe to a T. She followed the formula. When she put the butter in there from the microwave, the cookies did not taste good. But that's sometimes what we do. We try to take shortcuts. We try to sidestep things. We try to expedite the process. We try to microwave instead of, we try to bake it instead of, we try to microwave it instead of letting it thaw at room temperature. The only way, Jeff, the only way that we're going to achieve the results that we want to see in life is we must follow the formula. Follow the formula.
That is amazing right there, and that is great advice. So I was actually watching a Nick Vujicic podcast this afternoon with Marie Cosgrove as the special guest, and he asked her the question, what oh man, I can't think how you worded it now, but I'm having a brain fart at the minute.
That's okay. But if you don't mind, what I was going to say is that this is the society that we live in. We live in a society where we want things fast. You know, when I was growing up, you had to wait on everything because you didn't have internet, you didn't have all the cell phone, you didn't have none of this stuff that we have now. But my point out of saying that is that sometimes it may take one person 6 weeks to accomplish what it would take another person 6 months. You know, so it's an individual effort. I can't really, that's why when I'm doing coaching, I always do what's called a free comprehensive need assessment. I do a need assessment to determine where you are, because I don't know where you are. And during that time, an interview takes place on both sides. You interview me, let me quit moving my hand so much, but you interview me and I interview you to determine whether or not are right fit for each other. But some people think that because you have 7 steps or you have tips to help you live a more successful life, that they're going to live that life within the next 30 days, when it took them 30 years or 40 or 50, 60 years to get into their current situation. So we want to rush things, but we have to have a little bit more patience.
All right. I figured out the question now.
Okay.
So how do you find opportunity in obstacles?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. That's where they live. The opportunity. Listen, the solution is in the problem. The solution is in the problem. In multiplication, you have a multiplier, you have a multiplicand, and when you put the multiplier into the multiplicand, you get a product. Multiplier, multiplicand, product. In life, the solution is always in the problem, because what we have to do is we have to develop those problem-solving skills. Oftentimes, the problem presents itself to help us exercise our problem-solving skills. Usually, when you repeat the same problem over and over again, that means that you have underdeveloped problem-solving skills. There's something that you're missing. And that's so vitally important, because we think that things are repeating themselves. We say that history is repeating itself in my life. But usually what happens is that we have not mastered the ability to solve that problem, so it came up again. The minute that you master the problem solving skills necessary to move forward, you usually don't see that particular problem. It's a more advanced problem, and now you develop skills as well. The solution is in the problem, and sometimes the problem is in the solution, if that makes sense. So you're always going to find the solution right there, woven in between the problem.
So why is it that you have to go through something to grow?
Well, it's just like I use you as an example, because you are a great inspiration to me, whether you know it or not. I've watched you closely over the years. I've seen you travel and speak, and I've seen you work out. And Jeff, everybody would have given you an excuse if you had just not done that. You've been through a lot, but you still work out. You're losing weight. You're getting fit. Well, you know that when you're working out, and I use this word atrophy. Atrophy, Webster defines atrophy as the slow deterioration or wasting away of a muscle due to underuse. Usually it comes from nerve damage or something of that nature, but the muscle begins to shrink because it's not being used. So what does that say to me? It says that in order for a muscle to grow, it must be under stress. And what it does, it breaks down the fibers, and every time it breaks the fibers down, it builds them back thicker and thicker and thicker. And that's where you get larger muscles from, because you've put those muscles under so much stress, intense stress. We know the heavier the weight, the bigger the muscle, because the more damage that's going to be done to that fiber of the muscle, that it's going to grow back. You got to go through stuff. in order to get the lesson. You must go through difficult times in order to get stronger, in order to build those muscles to be able to endure what we're going through right now. Just imagine when we come through this situation that we're in right now. Just imagine the lesson that we're going to be able to teach our children when they say, well, Dad, I don't want to cut the grass, or whatever the case may be. You're going to say, well, back in 2020, let me tell you what I had to go through.
I had to walk uphill to school both ways.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah.
I want to go through the steps one more time quickly here. So number 1 is avoid the spider webs. Number 2 is recognize the real enemy. Number 3 is take responsibility for your actions. Number 4 is become crystal clear on what you want. And then number 5 is prepare for the fight to come, because remember, there's no opportunity unless there's an obstacle. And Wendell told us all about that. And then number 6 is analyze what you're up against. And y'all know there's an enemy out there, and a lot of times it's ourselves. So we gotta analyze ourselves a lot of times. And then number 7, and finally, it's develop a game plan and then execute. And without execution, your game plan is no good. So
That's right.
You have to execute. So Wendell, is there any other information you would like to give out, or contact information possibly?
Absolutely. As a professional sales coach, life and business coach, entrepreneur, some people say serial entrepreneur, Jeff, but it sounds so violent. I don't know about a serial entrepreneur. I just do a lot of different stuff, and I have fun doing it. But I'm on all social media platforms. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook at Wendell Graham. I have a Slight Edge Facebook business page. You can visit me there. I think I have an email there at the bottom. Yeah, if it's okay, I would like to give away maybe some free coaching to somebody out there who's in need of it, who would like to have maybe a 30-minute session with me. And it's a complimentary session, what I call them a fireside chat. What they can do is they can reach out to me on Facebook. They can send me an email, and I'll work with maybe 3 to 5 people and see if I can get them in my schedule where we can sit down and have a nice fireside chat and see if we can help them with some of those 7 steps.
All right. Well, I would like to say hi to a few people here and tell you guys thank you for watching. So we have the Gladiator, Patrick Artis. We have Tracy Kincaid. We have Greg Walker, Jared Wright, who was my 8th grade social studies teacher. And then we have Tiana Lockhart, who was my trainer at the gym before she quit.
But she's responsible for the muscles then, huh?
Yeah, she helped with them.
That's what's up.
And then we have Anthony Russo, who says, I'm here. And then we have Lawrence Thompson, who said, hi, Jeff. Hi, Lawrence. Hope you're doing well. And then we have Brett Connors, and I'm going to suggest him for one of your fireside chats because he is awesome. It's Brent Connors, not Brett Connors. And then we also have Jennifer Lynn. So thank you guys so much for watching, and please remember to hit that like button and share this video with all your friends and as many groups as you can, because when people watch this, they can grow from this, and when they grow, their life can get better, and then you get the credit for that. So definitely help them out doing that. But I need to say thank you to Wendell for coming on here tonight. I really appreciate it. And I know you're busy and you're here. So thank you again.
Yes,
And
yes.
I need everybody out there, including you, Wendell, to do me a favor this week, next week, and for the rest of the year and for the rest of your life. I need you to make every second count. Why? Because you never know when the seconds are going to run out on your one life.
That's
So,
right.
guys, have a great week. I'll see you next Tuesday,
Thank
7
you.
p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Facebook and YouTube. See you guys later.
Have a good night. Thank you.